I'm a personal trainer and fitness coach. My mission is to make the world a healthier place through fitness and nutrition. Hey, I'm Gam and welcome to our channel.
Si ahí no tiene versión, podemos comenzar con nuestro movement screen, como se llama en inglés, lo que es.
Hello, this is SassoonFIT. Welcome to a video in which we're going to talk about starting an exercise program. So as I'm talking to her, I'm asking her has she dealt with any injuries, and since she tells me no, we can get started. The first thing I have anybody do, even if we're just doing testing that day, is do a short dynamic warm-up, which I just showed you. And then what we're going to do is talk about squatting in the proper squat form. Well, let's listen in.
Es que mis pies son más o menos el ancho de mi cuerpo y los dedos de los pies están un poquito.
There are a few different indicators of proper squat form, and these indicators can be measured by looking at the front as well as looking at the side. So I'm explaining here what you are going to be looking for if you're looking at the front, which is that your knee is following the same parallel line as your feet. Your hips should go back, and that's what you're going to see if you're looking from the side. You're going to see your hips going back and your chest remaining up. You don't want your chest to collapse downwards because that's more of a deadlift. And after I give her instructions and visually demonstrate what she's going to do, I have her perform the squats so I can analyze her form.
Fíjate cómo tú estabas. Ahí, vamos a ver el lado.
So there are two minor improvements I notice when looking at her squat. The first is as she goes downwards, her hips are posteriorly tilting. There's a posterior pelvic tilt of her hips, and that is a question of mobility and or stability in her core. And we're going to see that later when we put her through a plank. We're going to see that she lacks core stability, and that could be why her lower back and hips are collapsing like that. The other thing is that her knees are not staying outwards. And we're going to fix that by putting a resistance band above her knees and asking her to press her knees outwards while she's squatting. And that's what we're going to be doing right here.
Tres puntos en tu pie, aquí y aquí, forma un triángulo, ¿verdad? Tiene sentido. Un triángulo. Entonces los tres puntos tienen que estar ligados con el.
Here I'm explaining the basics of foot stability while you're squatting. You don't want one part of your foot to be in contact with the ground and another part to not be in contact with the ground. And you can think about your foot creating a tripod with your two balls of the feet and your heel all in contact, forming a tripod or triangle. Now I'm telling her this as she goes down, she should feel all 3 points, and her knees should be, in this case, pushing outwards. And as she pushes outwards and feels her whole foot on the ground, that's going to ensure she's learning the proper squat form. And she's doing a much better job right now.
¿No te gusta la plancha? ¿Estás sonriendo? ¿Te encanta? Ok. Entonces con la plancha.
After you assess and analyze the squat, the second, if not most important thing you want to look for is being able to do a proper plank. And the reason is because when you're exercising, there's a high risk of injuring your lower back. In fact, that's one of the most common injuries that people have. And when Ruby does the plank, she's able to stay up in the plank, but she's got a huge tilt in her lower back. And I'm trying to explain to her here you don't want this tilt, and I'm showing her what not to do here. You want to posterior pelvic tilt, which I'm showing her now. You want to rotate downwards your lower back, not in upwards tilt. So, what I try to do with her to physically show her is I take a PVC pipe and I tell her your lower back should be in contact with the pipe. And if it's not, you know that, and you can see here, it actually isn't going to be in contact. There's all that space. And she needs to engage her anti-extension muscles and push up into that space. And this is because of weakness as well as tightness. Weakness in the anti-extension muscles and tightness in the lower back. So that's another thing that Ruby has to work on that we're going to identify and diagnose from our movement screen.
Aquí previene la lesión de la espalda, preveniendo que la espalda extiende. No sé si tiene mucho sentido, pero básicamente esto.
Now here I'm explaining to her that the muscles that I'm trying to have her activate prevent lower back injury. Those are the front muscles of your core when you're performing a plank are essential because they prevent your spine from curving in a vulnerable position. And that's why we're trying to work the front part of our abdominals with the elbow plank.
Eso sería la plancha lateral. ¿Has hecho eso? Ok. La plancha lateral es muy parecido.
One major misconception of the core as I do this side plank, and what I'm explaining here is your elbow and your shoulder should form a parallel line. So you should almost be in a T position. If you look at my body, I have a straight line from my heels to my shoulders. And I have a straight line from my elbow that's resting on the ground to the arm that's going to be up above the ground. So one common misconception about the core or about the abdominals is that the core is really just the front part where you see the abs. And that couldn't be farther from the truth. The core is many muscles, both visually seen and beneath your skin, that are not able to be seen, that go all around the midsection of your body and incorporate your hips, upper back as well. And in this situation, she's not able to form a straight line. So we do improve on that, and now I show her other variations of the side plank when she's able to improve. Now this next part that is often forgotten of the core is your scapular stability. This is really important. If you don't have good scapular stability, you're not able to perform upper body exercises without risking injuring your shoulders. This is called the A position. I have her squeezing her shoulder blades together while she's turning her hands outwards, thumbs pointed towards the ceiling. Now, this is another great core exercise that's for beginners and very basic.
La mano así y tú lo sueltas. Y podemos ver dónde caen los hombros.
So if you want a really quick and easy test to see if you have scapular or shoulder stability, the easiest thing to do is lift your hands above your head and just relax them. Now, Ruby has good scapular stability, which is why she was able to do the floor A so easily. But we can see that by looking at the position of her hands. See, her hands are not out in front as I'm showing them now. They're actually thumbs facing the correct directions, hands out to the side adequately. Her thumbs are not pointed inwards, meaning that she has good posture of her shoulders, and that area of her body is actually her strength.
Para medir la nalga, como la estabilidad de las nalgas. Pero creo que como tú eres dominicana, tú bailas en el bowl y toda esa vaina, tú vas a tener eso.
The next thing we're going to work on is her hip stability. Now I'm showing here a proper bridge in which my shoulders, hips, and knees all form a straight diagonal line. A lot of people aren't able to bring their hips up all the way, and you'll see sort of a zigzag line.
Entonces, ahora
But
mismo,
let's see how she does it. One important thing to note is her heels are so far back that you're going to be working more of your hamstrings if you do it that way. Now her heels are a little bit closer in, maybe a little bit too close, but one important thing to note is however far your heels are out is going to determine during the bridge position whether you're working more of your glutes or your hamstrings. Now, I noticed that uh, we can do a couple of different things with this exercise with Ruby, and it seems like she has actually a curve in her lower back that is similar to what we had when we were doing the plank earlier. So one thing that we want to emphasize is really activating the core when we do the bridge, and I'm going to show you how we're going to do this shortly.
yo pensé que tú ibas a tener eso para fácil para ti. Ok, entonces eso también podemos mejorar un poco haciendo el puente bien. Te voy a enseñar.
Now notice when she's in a relaxed position how arched her lower back is. You could literally stick a large object underneath her lower back, and that's what I'm showing right here. There's all that space, and what you want to do if you have lower back pain or if you want to do the bridge the best way is push down into that space with your lower back, and that's going to straighten out your spine. She's got this giant space here because she's not really activating her core. We also stuck a ball in between her knees so she could work her adductors, which is the inner part of her thighs.
Ve si puedes fijar ese espacio para abajo, dejarlo fijo, apretado. Dale, dale. Arriba. Ok, de nuevo.
With somebody like Ruby, who is a beginner to proper exercise technique,
Solo tiene que poner un mano. La mano es
we
solo
want to
para ver
focus
si
on
está
each time she
apretado
does the
o-
bridge,
¿ok?
pushing down into that
Sí,
position.
es solo para
And that's what I'm
verificar que
telling her
está
to do
apretado el
now.
espacio.
So every single time you're going to come up with a
¿Tiene
bridge,
sentido?
first press down into the space, then come up. And having the hand there guides
Ok,
you
es un
to
buen
tell you
ejercicio
whether
que
you're
puede hacer
activating
en su
the core.
casa. Puede
each
ser
time.
3 rondas de 10, puede ser con la pelota y también puede poner la banda para abrir. Eso está trabajando los músculos de aducción. Y cuando tú pones la banda, estás trabajando los músculos de abducción. Y los dos músculos se quedan en la cadera. Entonces te hace una nalguita bien buena cuando tú trabajas todos los músculos. Uno más. Perfecto, ya. Ok. Levántate. Ok. Siempre te pido. No porque me gusta mirarme, sino porque me gusta ver si estoy haciendo bien, ¿verdad? Entonces voy a ligeramente doblar la rodilla, voy a llevar la nalga para atrás, para atrás, para atrás. Y siempre mi pecho arriba. No quiero eso. Eso es una lesión que viene y tú sabes. Entonces siempre atrás y de lado se va a ver así. ¿Verdad? Ok, ponte donde yo estaba.
Here I'm having her use a very light PVC pipe to demonstrate if she knows how to properly hinge her hips. What I do notice is you can see here is her lower back is still arched. This is called anterior pelvic tilt. And the problem is that it is a problem of a weak and unactivated core. And when she's doing the deadlift, I'm telling her to bend her knees more because by not bending her knees, it's creating a lot of tension in her back. So she does a much better job here. And I'm also telling her to activate her glutes. Anterior pelvic tilt is a very common problem, and it involves tight hip flexors, a tight lower back, weak glutes, and a weak core. So all the exercises I'm giving her today are to try to improve or strengthen the weak areas and to stretch the tight areas. And she's actually doing a much better job here. You can, if you notice, she's squeezing her glutes and trying to keep her back from arching too much by activating her core, her deep inner core muscles.
Ok, entonces, ¿qué aprendiste ahora mismo? Dime qué tú has aprendido. Eso ya es entrenamiento. ¿Qué tú has aprendido de eso?
So what should you do if you're a beginner to working out? Well, first, you want to like and subscribe to this channel because I'm going to be helping you a lot with that kind of stuff on this channel and on these videos. Second is you want to focus on the basics. Those are the basic compound movements as well as core stability of your shoulders, of your just regular planks, bridges, and having good posture. If you have any other questions, you're going to find out a lot of information in our other fitness videos, so check them out.
Muchas gracias por asistir hoy, un placer y que cuando te vea de nuevo tú tienes pila de cotorra que te han dicho. Ok. Gracias. Gracias.